Of socially responsible investing, ESG, it's emerging as one of the main themes at Davos. This is Paul Tudor Jones this morning on Squawk addressing that.
If you had a blank sheet of paper and we were starting and trying to maximize societal happiness and output, and we had those five stakeholders, shareholders, employees, customers, communities, the planet, would shareholders be the most important thing to manage companies around? I don't think so.
Comes on the heels of Jim's interview with Nadella, of course, last week, where Nadella had some striking words, I thought, about the threat of climate change. Yeah. Today, BIS has a piece on what they're calling green swans. Now, threats to climate that could trigger, in their words, some kind of systemic financial crisis.
Well, I mean, Sadia clearly feels that way. I mean, he's thinking about, I made the joke to him off camera about how you can't see out of your window to buy windows. And he was saying, well, look, it's not funny. It's not funny. That's going to happen if we don't get our act.
That was the announcement from them in terms of being carbon negative by 2050 in particular. In other words, removing all the carbon they put into the atmospheres of corporations since 1975
they started?
was fascinating. But I also thought Tudor Jones's comments during Squawk Box were really interesting. He was very much that point that he continued to make, which is not dissimilar from what we heard from the Business Roundtable some months ago, but this idea that shareholder return is not necessarily paramount now. And we're seeing it reflected to a certain extent in at least the dichotomy of candidates and the Democratic nominating process for president, certainly Warren and Sanders. It's just interesting that it continues to be a theme.
Oh, yeah.
And it is coupled with, of course, this ESG move that we've been trying to trying to highlight over the last few weeks and months.
Big theme, greenwash. Who is real and who isn't? And Sadia made the point over and over again. Look, we are going to audit. We are going to make sure the scope of three scopes. One is obviously his company, but two are the vendors. Boy, the vendors can be under pressure because there's such a big team there at Microsoft. You want their business. And then he said the users. Now, I don't know how to compel the users. But this idea of the Earth as a stakeholder, originally brought up by Mark Benioff, would make it seem like, you know what, if they have a vote, there's a lot of things that are different.
Tudor Jones making these points about capitalism, and obviously he's a capitalist. We all are.
Yep.
That in the 60s, in terms of GDP growth, it was far higher because even though profit margins were far lower, a lot more of profit was going back towards the worker, going back to the worker, and that's. I don't think he's a supporter of Warren or Sanders, but it sort of sounded more like something they would say.
Well, I got to tell you, if I were the Chinese, maybe this was behind the deal, they have a very different attitude toward China. Their attitude is to punish China because of coal.
Who that is who?
Sanders.
I see. Right.
Yeah, Sanders and Warren. They are after China big. So I think the long game said that it's only going to get worse for us. So because if the Democrats win, they'll actually try to blockade us, so to speak. There isn't any sign that they want to do more business with China, particularly because they care much more about the climate than our current president, who has a unique position.
But having spent another week out there at JPM, healthcare, obviously, and just in general, with what is your sense of this movement towards a focus on sustainability by these corporations? Today, I think Starbucks with an announcement as well about plant-based.
A year and a half
on their menu.
Right. A year and a half ago, if you asked about it, it'd be like, oh, yeah. Now they bring it up. They bring it up as the second point after what they're doing. I mean, and everybody, companies that don't have a big footprint, the drug companies, but everybody wants to prove that they care. And it'll be interesting to see if you're listening to Schlumberger call on Friday, which was a really great call, they did not bring it.